Anyone can follow. It takes something special to be an original. Which is why the 2025 Lincoln Navigator SUV arrives with new ways of surrounding you in luxury, including the ultra-wide 48-inch panoramic display and the multi-sensory Lincoln Rejuvenate experience. A true original never stops evolving. So meet the 2025 Navigator, the original that's all new and better than ever. Learn more at Lincoln.com. Lincoln and Navigator are trademarks of Ford or its affiliates.
Jif peanut butter. It's that jiffing good, it doesn't really need advertising. So instead, enjoy the calming sounds of the ocean. Jif. Ooh, it's that jiffing good. Get your Jif at Jif.com.
The Judge Jeanine Pirro, Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday Morning Show.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Hello, everybody. This is Joe Concha, Fox News contributor, senior writer, Washington Examiner, and the New York Times best-selling author. I never thought I'd say that. Of the greatest comeback ever inside Trump's big, beautiful campaign, ... unburdened by what has been. Yes, it made the bestseller list. A lot of books being sold, and for good reason. Definitely give that a read of Donald Trump's greatest, let's not even Donald Trump's greatest comeback ever, maybe the greatest comeback ever. I know we got some Yankee fans out there saying, hey, 2004 over here, we're up 3-0 on the Red Sox and we blew it. I know, but you got to think about what Trump went through, right? I mean, we're talking 94 felony charges, all these civil cases here in New York, for example, and obviously 2 assassination attempts, a hostile media that does not give him a fair shake to this day, aligned with the Democratic Party, all these things against him for years leading up to November 5th, 2024. And all the guy does is win the popular vote. First Republican to do that in 20 years, and obviously wins every swing state. Republicans take the Senate, they hold the House. It's a clean sweep, and Democrats have not recovered since, quite frankly. I mean, you look at their polling, where they are as popular as gas station sushi right now, as far as 21% approval, the Democratic Party. And then I look at Trump's polling numbers, which just continue to soar. He is at, in some top-rated polls, anywhere from 52 to 55% approval, easily his highest of all time. And I want to put it in context for a second, because I wrote about this for the Washington Examiner. Think back to May of 2017, okay? So that's Donald Trump's first term. May, 3 months in, 4 months in, and Donald Trump just fires FBI Director James Comey, and for good reason. And now we're seeing basically he's just an unhinged teenage girl at this point, as far as, I was just walking along the beach and I came across these seashells that read 8647, and I didn't know what it meant, but I put a picture of it up anyway because I have a book to promote. Oh, God. I mean, this guy, they should have the book thrown at him, quite frankly. I hope that does happen, because obviously that was a clear threat to the president. And again, it's not some troll on Twitter. It's the former FBI director calling for the elimination of Donald Trump, who he clearly hates. He's already written 1, 2, 3 books and had a Showtime series in his honor. So James Comey hopefully will be, instead of 8647 pictures, be inmate number 8647. Anyway, he fires Comey. Then there's a special counsel investigation launched into collusion with Russia, and Donald Trump is an agent of the Kremlin. And his approval rating at the time, Washington Post, 36%, Gallup, 38%, Wall Street Journal, 39%, Fox News, 40%. All right, so those are not good numbers when you're not even 120 days into your presidency. That's supposed to be basically the honeymoon period, but just right out of the gate, just slings and arrows, all false, by the way, as far as accusations flung at President Trump. And then, boy, everything, when you compare it to now, as far as I mentioned, in the 50s on approval, well over 30% higher than the Democrats at this point. And what he is passing is just incredible. I mean, this month that he's having is the best month he's ever had as a president. Think about that. I mean, new trade deals with the UK, for example, lowering tariffs on China when obviously they were blinking, they were feeling it in their economy as well. The financial markets, for the most part, have stabilized. In other words, if you look at where the stock market was on November 5th and you compare it to now, it's basically the same. Meanwhile, 2 straight reports, March, April, showing inflation coming down to nearly 2%. Think about what it was under Biden, over 9%. During his recent trip to the Middle East, He secures well over $10 trillion in investment, like places like Saudi Arabia and Qatar and the United Arab Emirates, the UAE. I mean, it's just incredible. He dropped sanctions on Syria, smart, new government coming in, and the last American hostage, Edon Alexander, comes home from Gaza, finally at the hands of Hamas. So as far as Donald Trump goes right now, he is on an absolute roll. The 2026 midterms very well could see Republican gains if the economy takes off, as we think it will, with this big, beautiful bill being passed in the House. Mike Johnson, MVP, herding cats, gets it through by one vote, 215 to 214. It goes to the Senate. It will get to the president's desk, and then that will unleash our economy like we have not seen since Donald Trump's first term. So Democrats in turmoil, Donald Trump absolutely soaring. I am Joe Concha. This is the Judge Jeanine Tunnel to Towers show. Back with more in just a moment.
The Judge Jeanine Pirro Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Of course you love a pint of Ben & Jerry's, but maybe you don't love sharing your pint of Ben & Jerry's. No problem. Now you can share the love with Ben & Jerry's new Scoop-A-Palooza. 28 whole ounces of crowd-pleasing flavor in a single tub. It's an instant ice cream party. And if that means your favorite pint is left just for you, so be it. Ben & Jerry's new 28-ounce Scoop-A-Palooza. Made for sharing in 4 larger-than-life flavors. See benjerry.com/palooza.
Having trouble hearing in work meetings? Eventually you zone out. You've missed too much to catch up now. Get your confidence back with Nuance Audio.
Don't worry, I just spoke with the sales office, and they assured me the order has already been processed.
The new invisible hearing solution that's built into your glasses. Nuance Audio glasses help you hear better and reduce background noise, so you can tune into your meetings all day long. Learn more at nuanceaudio.com.
This episode is brought to you by Factor. Optimize your nutrition this year with Factor, America's #1 ready-to-eat meal service. Factor's fresh, never-frozen meals are dietitian-approved, ready to eat in just 2 minutes. Choose from 40 weekly options across 8 dietary preferences, like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, and Keto. Eat smarter at factormeals.com/listen50 and use code listen50 for 50% off, plus free shipping on your first box. Factormeals.com/listen50. Code listen50. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey besties, listen up. I have a secret to tell you. LinkedIn now has improved the job search experience for nurses. Search by your specialty, the shifts you want to work, and the salary that you want to make. With so many employers hiring on LinkedIn, finding the perfect job is even more simplified. So don't spend months searching. Go to linkedin.com/nurses and find out why in the past year, more than 1.5 million nurses have used LinkedIn to search for their next role. That's linkedin.com/nurses.
The Judge Jeanine Pirro Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show.
Entertaining and informative
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Welcome back, everybody. Joe Concha in for Judge Jeanine. She has a slightly more important job right now down in D.C., so a pleasure to be here and a pleasure to bring in former New York Congressman Pete King as well. Huge Met fan, an Irishman like myself. I'm half Irish anyway, Pete. I feel like I'm living in Dublin right now, Pete, because it rains every day. It's cold. What's going on? I mean, I know you're out of Congress at this point, but do you have any pull? Can we do something about this cold weather?
Well, first of all, if I were back in Congress, I'd stop the rain. But since I'm not, we're on our own. Anyway, great to be on with you, Joe. Looking forward to it.
Oh, of course. So first I want to talk about what happened this week in Washington, D.C. A young couple gunned down at the Israeli embassy, the suspect in custody yelling "Free Palestine." Afterwards, it feels like the intifada has now come to the United States, whether I'm looking at Columbia University earlier this week, where we had protests there interrupting graduation ceremonies, just like classes have been interrupted over and over again. We have custodians literally being kept hostage. We have Jewish students fearing for their lives when they should be having the best time of their life while at college. I mean, what would you do right now as far as just quelling these protests? I get First Amendment. I get that whole argument, but this goes well beyond that at this point, obviously, Pete.
It really does. And ordinarily, I don't point fingers or jump to conclusions, but those 2 murders in Washington were unfortunately, the logical result of all that's been going on over the last 2 years. The anti-Semitism in this country, which is enabled by the media, it's enabled by too many politicians in the Democratic Party, too many people in the Biden administration who chose to look the other way, by the fact that they allow people like Congresswoman Omar, to be walking around, and Congresswoman Tlaib. These are racist, bigots, anti-Semites, and you have these university presidents, these exalted university presidents, allowing this on their campus. I mean, if this had happened, and let's say at Southern campus where black students were being beat up, they'd be sending in troops. There would be a national scandal. It would be all over the international media. It'll be every TV station in the country, every mainstream station anyway, and MSNBC. And the fact is that it was really almost ignored or overlooked, like just another little wrinkle along the way. So, no, I think, first of all, what President Trump is doing is right. Every lever we have, we should be pulling. What Kristi Noem is doing as far as cutting back on the student visas from places like Harvard, two places like Harvard. To me, that has to be done. Every bit of pressure we can put on to let this is virtually an insurrection. People talk about January 6th, and I was really angry about January 6th. Having said that, what happened is systematic rioting last summer, the attack on Jews here in New York at Columbia University, the tolerance of anti-Semitism, that is disgrace. This is like the 1930s in Germany.
And we're talking to Pete King, and you were so right about that. I just wonder from a political perspective, and you were in Congress for many years, won many elections along the way, how is embracing anti-Semitism, or at least not condemning, you mentioned Representative Ilhan Omar and her refusal to condemn this murder right in Washington, D.C., just a few blocks from Congress. What's the upside of this? I mean, did people watch the 2024 election where Kamala Harris was so worried about losing Muslim voters in Dearborn, Michigan, that she didn't choose Josh Shapiro as her running mate, a Jewish governor in Pennsylvania, a state she needed to win, a state where he's above 60% in terms of approval, but they didn't take him because he was a Jew? It's just remarkable to me that somehow, just politically, I mean, at least fake it. I don't know, like at least say the right things, but they don't want to do that. I just don't understand where this is rooted.
Joe, you're being too logical here.
Yeah,
I'm saying that only half kidding. No, it's happened the last few years, and it's a phenomenon that was building, but it's really the last few years. The Democratic Party is petrified of its base. This may only be a 15, 10, 15, 20% base. I don't know what the number is, but that's the radical left wing, and anti-Semitic, Black Lives Matter, Antifa type crowd, which makes up, maybe I'd say 15, 20% of the Democratic Party, but they're the ones that vote in the primaries. They're the ones who are working at this 24/7. And Democrats are afraid of antagonizing them. They keep looking the other way. Meanwhile, in the past, if somebody made even a remark, Democrats would be jumping all over them. They couldn't be more woke. But when it comes to anti-Semitism excuses, when it came to Black Lives Matter during the summer of 2020, it's that base that's in there. Yes, I think if you sit down, they will tell you, rational Democrats, that they lost the last election primarily because of these that the country may have been close to being divided, but we'll put it over the top, was the antagonism by normal, common-sense people who felt that our culture was getting out of control, that was being dominated by the left, and the Democrats were not only doing nothing about it, they were enabling it, in some cases actually encouraging it. So, no, it's just, it defies common sense, because generally in politics, the more cynical you are, the more you're looking for every possible issue you can move ahead on. In this case, the issue is hitting them right in the face, and the Democrats won't do anything about it. They're afraid of that left-wing base. They're afraid of demonstrations. They're afraid of losing a primary. They're afraid of offending some of the cable TV shows that are out there, those left-wing shows, and they're scared stiff. That's all I can say. It makes no sense. I've tried to make sense out of it, and that's the best I can come up with.
And we're talking to Pete King, and you're correct in the sense where I think a lot of these left-wing politicians watch a little too much MSNBC and CNN. They take their cues from there, thinking that is tapping into the soul of the country, when those networks at this point have more employees than they have viewers at this point for a reason. So perhaps watch Fox a little more, or listen to WABC a little bit more, because you might get some common sense built into those brains. I want to talk about the big, beautiful bill. Now, talk about a juxtaposition. We talked about how Democrats, they're out of power at this point, right? They don't have the Senate, they don't have the House, they don't have the White House. More governors are Republicans than we have Democratic governors at this point. At least Stefanik is polling even right now from what I've seen with Governor Hochul, if that ends up being the matchup. So let me actually ask you about that first. As far as Stefanik's chances, I think Hochul is very vulnerable. I don't think there's a Hochul base per se, and it feels like New York is going more red. It did certainly during the last election. Donald Trump didn't win the state, but he certainly cut his margins down as far as that defeat was concerned, where it used to be easy crazy double digits. Not the case anymore. So does Stefanik have a puncher's chance here as far as being the next governor of New York?
Yeah, she really does. I worked with Elise in Congress for 10 years. She is really gifted. She knows what she's doing. She's hardworking, and she has an ability to communicate on television and the media. She just is a natural, and she's very, very smart. I mean, she's a brilliant woman, and she knows her way around. She's tough politically. And Kathy Hochul, I have to admit this, I'm so disappointed. I actually worked with her in Congress. She was in Congress for a year and a half. Oh, wow. When I was chairman of the Homeland Security Committee, she was assigned to the committee. She was great to work with. She was a middle of the road, or even leaning slightly right. She had nothing to do with any of the crazy lefty wackos. Her husband was a prosecutor, and I used to walk back and forth for votes with her. Wow, here's a mainstream, normal Democrat. When she was going to become governor, I was telling people, I say, hey, Kathy Hochul's going to be okay. Wow, was I disappointed. She went further to the left than Andrew Cuomo in her first 10 days. And since then, it's a Kathy Hochul I don't even recognize. I mean, she's gone so far. And again, she is catering to that left-wing base of hers, not of hers, of the Democratic Party, and it has a stranglehold on her. So, no, I think Elise can definitely not only run a good race, but win. She can win this. I would say it's at least 50-50, and the way things are going now, I think Elise would win.
Wow. And yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, we have had Republican governors and mayors not too long ago, so it's not out of the realm of possibility that New York, particularly as a state, not so much New York City, can go red. And we're talking to Pete King. I talked about the juxtaposition before I meant to get to this. Here you have, I'm seeing some polls where Donald Trump is polling as high as 55% approval. Everything is going upwards, regardless of the poll. It's just remarkable what this president's done over the last month as far as trade deals with the UK, with China bringing those tariffs back down, going in the right direction there, getting Edon Alexander home from Gaza, the last American hostage, ceasefires in terms of Ukraine and Russia or Pakistan and India, and obviously the big, beautiful bill passing in the House by the slimmest of margins, 1 vote. I mean, Mike Johnson, talk about the ability to herd cats. I mean, it's just amazing that he has almost no margin to work with, and yet he keeps getting things done. Overall, everything's going in a positive direction for President Trump. Inflation reports the last 2 months down, gas prices at a 4-year low. I can go on, but he's polling in the 50s at this point for the most part, high 40s. Meanwhile, the Democratic Party is in the low 20s, according to polling. So a big disconnect there. The question is, do you think that through the Senate, the big, beautiful bill will get through in terms of reconciliation, get to the president's desk, and what happens from there in terms of the economy?
Joe, I certainly hope so. Listen, there's things in the bill that I might not like, you may not like. The bottom line is, though, that overall, that is a good bill. It's important for the economy. It maintains the Trump tax cuts. It gives more incentives. It's going to provide more for border security. And on the key issues, the gut issues that matter, it's going to strengthen America. And a lot of the things they're saying about the deficit might go up and the deficit might not go up, I'm old enough to remember they said the same thing about the Reagan tax cuts. And then we ended up having the boom years. We come out of the Carter doldrums. The economy was never stronger. We defeated the Soviet Union. All of that came from Reagan's economic and military policies. That's what President Trump is doing now. So I would hope, listen, there's going to be changes in the Senate. Everyone has their own interests. They have to look after their own constituents. Having said that, they can't lose sight of the big picture. And that's important to get this package through one way or the other. Get it through. It doesn't have to be perfect. Don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. Get it out there, and that'll be a dramatic reversal from the downward turn of the Biden years.
Who do you think is the MVP right now of the Trump administration? I mentioned Mike Johnson before. He's not a member of the administration, but the House Speaker, but certainly he's done a phenomenal job, again, herding the cats. But as far as his cabinet, who has impressed you most? Would it be Scott Bessent? Would it be Marco Rubio? Would it be just give me a name and tell me why that person may stand out to you as being somebody who really is helping to bring the president's agenda forward?
Yeah, it's a person I never heard of before, Scott Bessent. I think he is a voice of stability. He's able to take really turbulent situations. He can calm them. He gets results. He's able to be loyal to the president. He's able to be loyal to the country. He's able to impress the people he's negotiating with. And he just seems to be so far as strong as can be. Again, I'll be honest with you, I didn't know about him before. I've heard of Lutnick and the others, but not of Scott Bessent. I think, to me, he's really coming across as a strong voice, a solid voice. Marco Rubio, I've known Marco for years. He's going to be solid as Secretary of State. I mean, you can't get much better than Marco. And he's a good combination of being a foreign policy expert and understanding the realities of politics. But I would say Scott Bessent so far.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. And with Marco Rubio, a very, very close second. I could see Rubio definitely being president one day. I think that's J.D. Vance's job in 2028. But then after that, we all forget that this is a very young administration, right? J.D. is only 40. Marco Rubio's in his early 50s. There's plenty of runway left where you could have Republicans in power in the White House for a long time. But as the economy goes, as do elections as well. Anyway, Pete Kink, thanks so much for joining us. Any plans for Memorial Day tomorrow?
No, listen, I'd like to make plans. I'd like to talk to you longer, but I have to go back to finishing your book. It's a great book.
Oh, thank you. Yes, the greatest comeback ever inside Trump's big, beautiful campaign. I'm burdened by what has been. Thanks so much, sir.
The only bad thing about the book is it's too honest. You realize how bad things were under Biden. My God, when you're living through it, you don't realize how bad it is until you sit back and look at it in perspective.
Yeah, it was that bad, certainly. And I appreciate your reading and enjoy your Memorial Day, sir. Thanks so much for joining us.
You too, Joe. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
The Judge Jeanine Pirro Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday Morning Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
This episode is brought to you by Loom by Atlassian. Are you feeling stuck at work? Get your team unstuck with Loom video messaging and move work forward. Use Loom to simultaneously record both your screen and yourself to share a quick update, provide feedback, train a colleague, and everything in between. Plus, add Loom AI to your meetings for instant written notes and recordings. Try Loom today at Loom.com. That's LOOM.com.
This episode is brought to you by GMC. When you have 4 new tires, every drive feels fresh. Right now, buy 3 select tires and get 1 for just $1 during the GMC Certified Service Fresh Start Tire Event. Visit gmc.com/service offers or see dealer for full details. At participating U.S. GM dealers only. Highest or equal value tire will be $1. Offer ends 5/31/2025. Not available with other offers.
How does PwC take your company to the leading edge? They bring the sharpest minds in tech to your team, so you can bring the ideas that will transform your business. They're passionate about your industry, so you can walk into any room with every advantage. And they're with you every step of the way, so you can know you're headed in the right direction. PwC builds for what's next, so you can get there now. Get started at pwc.com/us/leading edge.
The Judge Jeanine Pirro Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday Morning Show.
Entertaining and informative
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And welcome back, everybody. This is the Judge Jeanine Tunnel for Towers show. I'm Joe Concha, in for the judge on this lovely yet cool Sunday of Memorial Day weekend. We're talking to Gregg Jarrett right now. He is a legal and political analyst for the Fox News Channel and author of Trial of the Century. You can order that now on Amazon or wherever you get books. Mr. Jarrett, how are you?
Hey, I'm well, Joe. Nice to be with you.
Absolutely. So let's talk about, you have a great podcast, and one of your episodes is about Joe Biden and obviously the puppet president, in essence. I'd love to get your thoughts on this because I've been calling it on Fox. You have as well. We've done some segments together. This is the biggest scandal in presidential history. This makes Watergate look like, Watergate, a break-in, that went wrong. This is infinitely worse because it got people killed, right? Because Joe Biden ignored or forgot his conversations with his Joint Chiefs. We're talking 2021 during that Afghanistan withdrawal, and our national security was vulnerable for 4 years of this presidency because now we're being told by this book by Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson, way after the fact, by the way, thanks guys, that Joe Biden was absolutely not available or mentally available for that 2 a.m. call. If it came in, thank God it did not. But your thoughts?
Well, you're right about Tapper. Jake the Fake, as he's known, he was a leader in this media cabal that ridiculed anybody who dared to suggest that Biden's brain was addled. And in fact, Tapper was instrumental in the cover-up over at CNN. And now, of course, driven by greed, not to mention his outsized ego, he's cashing in financially on the very subject he got so famously wrong. I mean, he's a shameless con artist who seems to think that nobody will ever remember that he played a leading role in the Biden protection racket. So where was Jake when some of us, myself included, were warning before Biden was elected that this guy's brain was mush? I mean, it was obvious back in 2020 as Biden stumbled, mumbled, and fumbled his way through the Democrat primaries. And that's why his closest aides and family members, particularly Jill Biden, exploited the pandemic to hide him out in the basement of his home. You remember that.
Oh, yeah.
And they would occasionally trot him out to do a few pre-scripted interviews with sycophant faux journalists with pre-screened questions. Even the answers, we found out later, were up on a teleprompter for old Joe to read, even though he probably had no idea what he was saying. It was so obvious to anybody paying attention. And in August of 2020, 3 months before voters went to the polls, I did my own half-hour podcast warning that Biden's mental state was so severely diminished that if elected, he would be a marionette president controlled by others pulling the strings. That was the title of my podcast, Joe Biden, the marionette president. And guess what? That's what happened.
It all came to fruition. And you, like me, were probably called from so-called media reporters a conspiracy theorist or an ageist. I had said in 2020 on Fox and on radio as well that, look, guys, I follow the media pretty closely, and you can tell when somebody's reading a teleprompter. I mean, some can do it a lot better than others, where it looks like they're just, riffing and they're going off the cuff. And then some, you could see their eyes are moving, and their tone and their inflection shows the reading, and it's not coming organically. And we saw some photos of a reflection of a screen that looked like a teleprompter when Joe Biden was doing interviews from his basement in 2020. And I said, I think he's reading a teleprompter. That's what it looks like. And of course, I was called a conspiracy theorist. I was called somebody who obviously is a Trump sycophant. Why would I make an accusation like that? Well, turns out I was right, right? And it turns out you were right. And we were all right. And you're right about Tapper. I mean, particularly him. I mean, oh boy, to come out now and lecture the media that, they didn't do this well enough. And boy, he feels some humility around his coverage and maybe he should have done a better job. No, Jake, you wanted Donald Trump defeated in 2020. You did whatever you could to defeat the man. When you had Joe Biden in front of you, you didn't press him to release his medical records, for example, or call him out on the various strange statements he would make, like in 2019 when he was at a primary debate and he said, parents, play the record player for your kids tonight. Play the record player? 36 or 45 speed. Like, what is this, the 70s? I mean, that was like totally the tell. But you could hear it at GreggJarrett.com, GREGG. JARRETT, a lot of double letters in there, .com. So, Greg, as far as this killing at the Israeli embassy, it was so horrible earlier this week as far as a young couple, 30 and 26 years old. The man who was shot, Jewish man, unfortunately, like he already bought the engagement ring. He was about to propose. And then her life is just taken by this madman who's yelling "Free Palestine" as he murders 2 Jews just outside the Capitol in Washington, D.C. at the Israeli embassy. I mean, this is really... We're seeing now, it feels like the intifada now coming to basically the United States, whether it be at Columbia, whether it be at Harvard, all these protests, Jewish students scared for their lives and now even losing their lives, Greg.
Yeah, and, it's so despicable and heartbreaking. And you mentioned the intifada coming here. I was a correspondent in the Middle East during the second intifada in which, I was there. When all of the murders and bombings and assassinations took place in Israel, I went to the West Bank. I went down to Gaza. I interviewed family members of suicide bombers, terrorists, and they were so incredibly proud of what their sons had done. I mean, it's hard to wrap your head around it, but a form of that is sort of coming to the United States. And I saw a recent survey which described an assassination culture on the far left that, roughly half of liberal Democrats think it's somehow okay and is justified to engage in violence and murder, for political reasons. I mean, how can that be? And I suppose, after 2 assassination attempts on Trump, is anybody really surprised when liberals call Trump Hitler and a fascist, when Joe Biden states, as you point out in your recent book, that it's time to put Trump in a bullseye just days before Trump was actually shot. That kind of ugly, incendiary rhetoric can explicitly condone, if not encourage, physical violence against a political opponent. And, that's, I think, what happened here. These people, they're nutballs that slither out from under the rocks, and that's what happened in D.C. This crazed fanatic murdered, these 2 young Israelis, and or Jewish people, and it's, outside the Jewish Museum, and it's hard to make sense of it, Joe.
It really is. And you're so right. We're talking to Gregg Jarrett, legal and political analyst for the Fox News Channel and the author of The Trial of the Century. Yeah, Ryan Ruth was the second assassin that I dedicated is the wrong word, I focused on for an entire chapter of my book, The Greatest Comeback Ever. And you look at the rhetoric in his social media posts, in various things they found on his computer, where he was echoing exactly what Democrats were saying about Donald Trump, which is democracy is at stake and Donald Trump must be stopped. In the case of Dan Goldman, who is a representative in New York, he said that Donald Trump needs to be eliminated. His exact words, and obviously Joe Biden, July 11th, said that Donald Trump needs to be put in a bullseye. At some point, 99% of people will be like, okay, that's just rhetorical. There's a 1% out there that will say, you know what? Yeah, I got to take matters in my own hands. This is what my leaders are telling me to do. And Ryan Ruth literally said that democracy is at stake and I have to stop Donald Trump. What that meant was establishing a sniper's nest outside the 6th hole of Trump International and wait for the president to walk up onto that green where he would have been a sitting duck. And thank God that Secret Service agent saw that rifle being poked through the bushes when he did, or else Donald Trump is dead. I mean, there's no cover there at that point. It's just a turkey shoot. Anyway, you are right, though, as far as this couple is concerned. Washington, D.C., obviously a very liberal city, but I understand now that Pam Bondi is saying that this is eligible for the death penalty. So is that how it works, that a new administration comes in and they could lift or enact death penalty or death penalty restrictions?
Yeah, absolutely. It would be a different prosecution under, Merrick Garland, Joe Biden's Department of Justice. But, here, an assassination like this, cold-blooded, deliberate, for political and religious reasons. I mean, this qualifies as a hate crime.
Yeah.
Killing Jews because they're Jews, and you disagree with Israel's approach to the attack by Hamas terrorists on innocent civilians in Israel. So that qualifies as death penalty. But what concerns me is the point you're making, that on the left, there is this attitude that is not fringe, it is mainstream, and they amplify language that is so incendiary that it can inspire people to engage in acts of domestic terrorism, political assassinations, and so forth. Democrats seem, on a different front, to care more about shielding terrorist gang members than protecting the lives of innocent American civilians. So it's no wonder that the Democrats' poll numbers have hit new lows in nearly all of the recent polls. At some point in time, they need to wake up from their slumber and realize that their job is to help protect Americans and tamp down this kind of violence.
And the website is thegreggjarrett.com, thegreggjarrett.com. You could hear Gregg's
podcast there. Read his articles, whether it be on foxnews.com or elsewhere. Just a great site, thegregjarrett.com. And yeah, Greg, when we're talking about violent rhetoric, for example, we've done enough segments on Fox where, I try to be measured like you, and I don't get emotional very often. But I was on Jesse Waters' show last week, and we were talking about James Comey, how this innocent former FBI director was just taking a walk on the beach with his wife and happened upon these seashells that magically spelled out 8647. In other words, 8647. That means eliminate 47, which is the 47th president, which is Donald Trump. And then this FBI director claims that, I don't know what it meant, but he decides to take a photo of it anyway and then put it on his Instagram page just a couple days before his book is coming out. And then he gets all this publicity for it, mostly bad, mind you. But places like Stephen Colbert, Nicole Wallace, and MSNBC, they portrayed him as a victim because Donald Trump was criticizing him over this, which rightly so. But can you believe that a former FBI director would go that far to lie, about those seashells? Because he obviously did that. That wasn't just somebody who did it and he just happened upon it because no one else took a picture of this thing for whatever reason. But at the same time, openly call for the removal of a president. He could say he's talking about through impeachment. I'm sorry, I don't buy it. Do you think the criminal charges should be pressed against James Comey?
Well, the legal standard is this. Did Comey intended as a true threat? Because a true threat under the law is not protected under the First Amendment political speech. And the trouble is that, Comey is the kind of guy who would lie about his intentions because he has a long and distinguished record of deceiving people, lying to the FISA court, abusing his power on surveillance when he was finally forced to testify before the House investigators. He said, I don't know, or I don't remember 226 times. So he plays the village idiot. And that's what he's doing here in this particular case. Gee whiz, I didn't understand what 86, a call for violence? Again, that's crazy, he said. He's crazy like a fox. He's calculating, conniving, scheming, unprincipled, unscrupulous, not to mention vainglorious. And this is the guy who did more to corrupt the FBI and demolish the rule of law than anybody. And it's going to take years for Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, and others at the FBI to try to recover from the insufferable James Comey.
Indeed. And it's amazing, Greg, and unfortunately we got to go, but John Brennan is over on MSNBC, former CIA director, and he sounds like Keith Olbermann, right? Like you can't tell the difference between the two. James Clapper goes to CNN. He was the former head of DNI. Same thing. Andrew McCabe fired from the FBI for leaking to the press, and then he's on CNN having the audacity to talk about ethics. So I just find it interesting that all these former intelligence heads of major entities now are all exposing themselves to be anti-Trump, liberal, and quite frankly, unhinged. And it's unsettling to think how many other people are in government that are like that. Anyway, Greg, we got to go. I want to wish you a happy Memorial Day and play some golf, have some fun, and celebrate our great veterans. I really appreciate it.
The Judge Jeanine Pirro Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday Morning Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
My favorite thing about Shipt since I signed up for Target Circle 360? No price markups when I order same-day delivery from tons of local stores. Only a handful of alcohol retailers and items don't count. I won't lie, I've had too much fun being like, markups on groceries? Not in my fridge. Markups on pet food? Not for my DOG. Markups on tools, electronics, home goods, meds? Not in my house. Anyway, it's awesome. Order now at shipt.com/360. Terms apply.
This episode is brought to you by Hulu, presenting Paradise. Paradise is Hulu's critically acclaimed addictive drama series, starring Sterling K. Brown, Julianne Nicholson, and James Marsden. The Daily Beast calls Paradise your next TV obsession, and the New York Times says it's exhilarating in all the right ways. Paradise is for your Emmy consideration in all categories, including Outstanding Drama Series. For more information, visit fyc.hulu.com.
Clorox Sentiva smells like grapefruit. Clean cleans like Clorox and feels like
Okay, we could be here all day. Try Clorox Scentiva for a trusted clean with long-lasting freshness. Also available in lavender and coconut. Use as directed.
Hi, this is Joe from Vanta. In today's digital world, compliance regulations are changing constantly, and earning customer trust has never mattered more. Vanta helps companies get compliant fast and stay secure with the most advanced AI, automation, and continuous monitoring out there. So whether you're a startup going for your first SOC 2 or ISO 27001, or a growing enterprise managing vendor risk, Vanta makes it quick, easy, and scalable. And I'm not just saying that because I work here. Get started at Vanta.com.
The Judge Jeanine Pirro, Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday Morning Show.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Welcome back, everybody. Joe Concha in for Judge Jeanine. This is the Tunnel to Towers show on this. I mean, it's nice out, but boy, it's cold. I mean, is this Thanksgiving? Easter? No, it's Memorial Day. And, you know, when I go to the beach later, I'm going to have to wear like a sweatshirt or something. I mean, it's between this and the wind, it's not, you know, it doesn't feel like the start of summer. We'll put it that way, but neither here nor there. At least it's not raining like it has basically throughout the entire spring. I coach my kids' Little League team, and we've had to cancel more games and more practices. At this point, I'm thinking about like getting all the dads together and like building a dome. I mean, that's the only solution. It's just absolutely crazy around here, but hopefully June brings warmer and sunnier days. Anyway, what isn't sunny right now is the fundraising front for the Democratic Party. If you're a donor to this party over the last, we'll call it 9 years, you want your money back, right? Because you've been lied to over and over again. Think about 2016 for a moment. Hillary Clinton basically installed as the Democratic nominee, the DNC working against Bernie Sanders at every turn. And we keep hearing from Democrats, Hillary's up big. She's up by 10 points. Donald Trump's going to get crushed. Who was it? Larry Sabato said that Hillary Clinton would win with 400 electoral votes. Whoops. Not quite right on that one, Lair. Donald Trump wins that election. Hillary Clinton only 226 electoral votes. Trump wins the key blue wall states, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan. So all that money donated to Hillary Clinton, over $1 billion, gone for no reason. Donald Trump sweeps into power. Then 2020, same deal. In 2024, a bigger deal as far as Kamala Harris. And here you had Jen O'Malley Dillon. Who's that? She was one of the campaign managers that told donors over and over again on the Democratic side that their internal polling showed that Kamala Harris was going to win this election, that late deciders, as if they existed, were all breaking to Kamala Harris over a joke that a guy told at a Trump rally 4 hours before he took the stage about Puerto Rico. Like, yep, that's going to change the whole race. And then $1.5 billion donated to Kamala Harris, and they end up in a deficit after the campaign. Donald Trump wins the popular vote, every swing state. Republicans take back the Senate, and they hold the House. So $1.5 billion gone. And these donors must be like, wait, you told us that she was going to win. You asked for more money to get over the finish line, and they were lying, because we found out after the fact that there were no polls internally showing that Kamala Harris was winning. So this is where the Democratic Party is at this point. Can you trust anything they say anymore? Because between Kamala and between Hillary and now Joe Biden, where apparently no one knew that he was going through this cognitive decline, that, boy, you know, he's actually solving quadratic equations behind the scenes and can tell you that the flux capacitor needs 1.21 gigawatts. And, boy, he's got the stamina of Saquon Barkley. No. It never existed, and all the people around him knew this for years. According to this ridiculous book from Jake Tapper, like way after the fact, apparently his sundowning, where there would be days where basically his brain would turn to applesauce. This goes all the way back to 2015 when he was vice president, and they still put him out there to run in 2020. And by they, I'm specifically talking about Jill Biden and Hunter Biden, especially Jill. Being Joe's wife, she saw behind the scenes exactly what was going on with this guy, but she didn't care. She put him out there because she really wanted power. She really wanted to be first lady, but more importantly, she really wanted to be the de facto president. So I hope there are congressional hearings at this point. I hope that we see Ron Klain, who looks like Flounder from Animal House, the former chief of staff for Joe Biden. Get him up on Capitol Hill. Get Jill Biden up there. Get Jen Psaki and Karine Jean-Pierre and Tony Blinken and Jake Sullivan and everybody else, Susan Rice, Jerry Rice, Ray Rice, I don't care. Get everybody up there. I want to know what they knew, how long they knew it, and how they put this country's national security at risk, as well as our integrity as a nation for having this guy as president when he didn't even know he was president half the time. I am Joe Concha. This is the Judge Jeanine Tunnel to Towers show. Thanks so much for tuning in on this lovely Sunday, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the Judge Jeanine Tunnel to Towers Sunday Morning Show. You can hear Judge Janine's Tunnel to Towers Sunday Morning Show Sunday mornings at 10. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?